So, disclaimer, look, I will be probably putting some sort of forward statements out, but all the information in this presentation has been announced and is public, so there's no new information. So, in the outline, we're going to be introducing Hill End and why it's unique, look through the geology and the mineralisation, talk a bit about structure, and then we'll look at the unique gravity processing that we get with the Hill End ore. We'll talk about the mine itself, what we're doing there, then we'll get into a bit of our forward exploration strategy. So Hill End, it's a unique town. It's only 111 people in the town. It's a historic gold mining town. It's just outside of Bathurst, about 71 k's north of Bathurst, and it's just southwest, 270 k's from Sydney. And it was originally an alluvial town at a place called Tambora, and the place was called Tambora. But in the 1850s, it started to become, they started mining reef gold. I believe it's one of the first reef gold precincts in Australia. And the village was proclaimed the Forbes, called Forbes, but clearly that didn't work. There was already one of them. So they changed it to Hill End. And the town's population at the time was 8,000 people, with a couple of newspapers, 8 churches and 28 pubs. The town economically grew through the gold boom from the 50s, and was famed for its fantastic coarse-grained gold. And 50 tonnes was mined from the area, in particular the Hawkins Hill area. And of course, most of you know, the largest specimen of gold ever on this planet to be brought out of the ground was brought out just above where we're going to be mining in Hawkins Hill at 286 kilograms by Bayer and Haldeman. It's famously called the Bayer and Haldeman nugget. It's not really a nugget, but it's just a piece of reef gold. But for those that you haven't seen it, you can Google it, and it's something phenomenal. Town's well preserved now. It's basically owned by the national parks, and they look after it, and the history is all sort of still there, and it's got a bit of agricultural and a bit of tourism funding, but now it's going to be a mining town again. So in the past, in about 2008, 2009. Hill End Gold went in and trial mined there. They did a lot of development, spent about 25 million on development, set up a gravity gold plant and mined, did quite well. Average grade was 15 grams and worked it up to 95% recovery. But because of some costs and because they were air legging, the way they were doing it just didn't work out so well, but they just put it on care and maintenance. So that's where that ended, that's where we start. So why is it unique? Well, we're talking very, very high grades. Hawkins Hill was mined there was 435,000 ounces mined at 309 grams per tonne. The gold recoveries by gravity, and gravity only, 95%. There's no associated sulphides to speak of. It's 23 fine, and that's why it just stands out. It's just beautiful, looks like gold, what gold's meant to be. It's almost pure. There's no gold in the country rock, and that means it can be ore sorted. It ore sorts at 330% upgrade, and with a 70% mass reduction. The gold also doesn't need grinding. We pull our first gravity gold at 650 micron. That's rather unique. So you don't need a ball mill up front, and you need very little energy to recover your gold. And again, got the largest specimen of gold on the planet. So gold occurs along the 25 kilometres of strike on the Hill End Anticline, and the Hawkins Hills in that area. We've got a number of other deposits and resources on that particular stretch, but we're only going to talk about the reward, and it was where the late Silurian Chesley Formation hosts bedding parallel laminated quartz veins and associated structures on the east limb of the hill end anticline. At the hill end, the anticline hinge consists of two closely spaced anticlines and an intervening syncline. The overall trough itself is 70 kilometres by 200 kilometres long, deep marine basin that is underlain by Ordovician volcanic rocks that lie within the Molong volcanic belt. And to the west is the Rockley Gulgong volcanics belt, and both the volcanics belt belongs to the Ordovician Macquarie Arc in the Lachlan Fold Belt of Eastern Australia. The core of the hill end anticline exposes the late Silurian Chesley Formation, which hosts the historic Hawkins Hill mine and now the Reward mine. So the Reward mineralisation in summary, the hill end mineral system was formed by gold-bearing fluids of metamorphic origin, and the available oxygen and hydrogen isotope data suggests that these fluids were derived from deeper Ordovician basement rocks. The gold was precipitated from low salinity, reduced hydrogen sulphide rich near neutral fluids that carried between 1 and 10 ppm gold. Available lead isotope data is consistent with dominantly crustal source for the lead and possible gold, suggesting that the gold may have been sourced from Silurian felsic volcanic units. Gold mineralisation was placed in a variety of structural settings, including principally bedded parallel veins, with the system acting as a thrust duplex with a dominantly compressive environment. In addition, significant gold was placed in steeply dipping intersections, chutes that were formed later and were possibly remobilised. A significant volume of the fluid passed through the system, suggesting that a substantial fault system exists beneath the known mineralisation. So the Reward mineralisation was a bit of work done by Seckham and Hicks, and they've developed this mineralisation on the basis it's derived from metamorphic fluids. And Lewin Seckham identified 5 stages of paragenesis of mineral deposition, and I won't go through that, but on the table there's those 5 stages, and stages 3 to 5 were the most of the sulphides were deposited. Also, Seckham and Hicks described the auriferous quartz veins at Hawkins Hill as bedded parallel veins with lesser cleavage parallel and fault-controlled veins. The bedding parallel veins at Hawkins Hill are laminated and consist of quartz with lesser carbonate and a number of other sulphide minerals, but they are just traces. So this is really just gold and quartz, but there was minor traces of sulphides. And the galena and sphalerite are not recorded in any other location. The bedding parallel veins at both Hawkins Hill and Red Hill are generally confined to the slate units interbedded with the metasandstone sequences. During 2007 and 8, they developed the Reward mine, and they did quite a bit of drilling, and they've intersected 14 bedded parallel veins that you can see there over a 360 metres sequence of metaturbites. We're looking there at the eastern limb, whereby there was the crest sitting here. Now it's a valley, and then there is a western side with minor mineralisation. We haven't really done much work over there anyway, but this is where we're targeting, and where the circle is where Hawkins Hill was. So the hill end geology has some similarities to Fosterville, and I'm not saying it's the same, but there's the things that are similar is that both host turbidite sequences of sandstone, siltstone and shales. They both had east-west compression faults, produced early upright fold sets and late brittle faults. Both laminated quartz veins preferentially develop in shales and usually bedding parallel and close or on the sandstone contact. Generally steep west dipping reverse faults with a series of west dipping splay faults characterise these deposits, and yeah, you can see those here, and a similarity at Fosterville. So what this has meant is we've been working on the theories of how gold is emplaced, and felt that we've got targets now for high grade extensions to what we already know. We know it's controlled by these high angle reverse faults, and therefore we can chase that. And it seems to be there's repetitions that are happening where the high angle faults, and they control this mineralisation. So we feel that there's two sets of areas that we're going to target, but clearly nearby is where we're mining at the moment is probably the lowest hanging fruit, but there is a plunging system to the north that will in the future will be our target, and also we do know down below where we are there's seems to be some higher grade plunging material there, which will show up later. So how do we get these large gold nuggets? Well, Harper did work in 1918. He was with the Minerals Department, I believe, and this is probably this thought has hung around forever that basically it's a remobilised gold in a weathering environment. So a supergene enriched zone. Well, look, it sort of doesn't really make a lot of sense when you see what's there, and then of course gold nuggets occur predominantly in quartz veins, and the current thinking is that the gold precipitates from dilute gold, which is very low in gold, and it would mean that there needs to be a lot of fluids to produce that amount of gold, and plus the environment doesn't seem to make sense neither. But just in July, late July, this article came out, and I'm sure a number of you have seen this, and I don't have a view on it. I haven't had time to even read the full article properly, and but it did. There has been references to Fosterville's gold, and certainly it would make sense that if this was a good theory, earthquake-induced piezoelectricity in quartz formation of gold nuggets would make sense at Hill End, but we'll see. So, getting onto the mine itself and away from the geology a bit, Vertex has got a strategy to start this mine up as fast as we possibly can. We're doing that at the moment. We're going to reinstall a gravity plant later this year, and then we're going to commence gold production from existing waste piles in early 25 as commissioning dirt. Then in late 24 we start developing and getting ready for the underground mining and feed from the underground. We're going to be ore sorting as well with this process. We want to be one of the high grade miners in Australia, and we're going to be drilling, constantly drilling to add high grade to our global inventory and our local inventory, and also turn some of our resource from inferred into indicated. So this picture here, how are we going for time? I should have, right, yeah. So this picture here shows a long section down the valley. So Hill End at the township sits back up here on this side, and this is a reasonably elevated position up here to here, about 300 metres. This shaft that was put in 2008, 2009 is about 230 metres, and then we've got about a 600 or 700 metre adit that leads out to right at the opening of the portal. We've got a gravity plant, and the yellow is the resource. Within that resource, we've just got a reserve of 50,000 ounces. That's basically the indicated. So you see these targets we're going to chase here. This area under here looks looks to be fruitful. We know down here there's holes. It was 1 ounce there, 2 ounces there, and 3 ounces there. I can remember that because it's 1, 2, 3 there along those bottom of the declines where they drilled. So we've also got an exploration target, which was fairly robust exploration target, given it was basically from sampling 2 veins in the backs and 2 veins in the floor of this adit, Foster's adit. Every metre averaged 22 grams. And we've got a couple of drill holes that match it up, and then it also does match with the veins the way they sat. So we didn't push it up into inferred, but happy for this, and then we'll be drilling it, probably one of the first cabs off the rank when we start drilling. So this is the plant we bought from Morningstar down at Woods Point, and it just works a treat for us. We bought it at a good price, and it'll sit within the existing plant that we have. It is just a gecko gravity plant. As I said, we don't have a ball mill in this. It's just we have jaw crushers and then a vertical impact crusher in circulation to get it to the 640 micron, and then we do a second crush of a regrind, but it's only about 10% of the mass pull, and of course we're pulling a lot out with the ore sorter, so it's not much at all. Little regrind mill that you fit on the back of a Tojo, so it's very small. But other than that, it's just a couple of falcons and a gecko jig. She's pretty rudimentary. So yeah, so here's the flow sheet there. And you can see we've got an ore sorter within this flow sheet between the vertical impactor and the first jaw, and we've got existing plant there and infrastructure, gold room, water systems, power generation, offices, change rooms, workshop, storeroom, crib rooms. We'll leave 1 jaw crusher there and access roads, security. So it's all ready to roll, and so we bring the gecko rebuilding and putting it all together. They'll pull it down together out from Ballarat and bring it up to Hill End, and we put it in. It's bloody small. It'll fit in probably, it'll fit in this room. So just a quick video on the ore sorting. So this has been crushed to under 60 and over, in this particular case, over 20, but we'll be doing over 15. Comes down, it's just washed so the laser can see clean rock. Then it goes into the sorter. We're using lasers here to tell what's translucent, which is quartz, and what's not translucent, which is grey wacky or shales. And it spits the waste out, going around this. It looks bigger than what it is, but there you'll see quartz on the right, grey wacky on the left. And when it gets down there, the video, you'll see how good this works. So, as I said, we're upgrading. This particular test was 3 grams going in, and so there's your grey wackies, and then look in there. There's black quartz in there and white quartz and anything in between, and we get a 330% uplift and a 70% reduction, and that's significant. So we're putting in 3 gram dirt, getting 16 gram dirt out, but we'll be mining 17 gram dirt and bringing out 12 with the dilution from our mining. We put it in the ore sorter and it'll bump it up to somewhere between 30 and 40 grams feed into the plant. There's so many bonuses to that, but for a whole host of reasons. May talk about it later if we get time. Anyway, so this is what's already been developed. We've got the shaft, we've got the adit, the plant sits here. These blue declines are going down to stopes that we're going to be stoping. As I said, we're going to be using mechanised gear. We'll be doing long hole stoping, so we'll be using remote control loaders. They'll be operated from operators in the offices, not underground, and we'll be having a little haul truck that runs out here. They run ore out, and then we run the material that's been put through the ore sorter back, nice and crushed, goes in the stope, and we end up with a nice working area to do our long hole rising. So we're going to, well, we've purchased our own rig, and we're going to be drilling constantly, chasing those high-grade areas that I explained before, hopefully targeting the sort of 40 gram and above in areas where we know where it seems to be higher grade. That's the global resource as it sits now. We can see there that there's some indicated, and that's all we can use in our reserve, but clearly we'll convert that over time. So we believe, you know, this is a very, very prospective area because it's significant in a lot of ways. We've got a massive strike length here. We know that the old timers mined. We did a LiDAR, and there's over 3,500 either shafts or workings that the old timers did along that whole length of strike. They didn't put them into this country for nothing. Sure, there might have been a couple of dusters, but that's where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So it's perspective. A lot of it's only mined down to 60 feet because of water table, and we've got a lot of potential there to do stuff. But you can't drill without money, and we've got to get in and be mining and doing some gold pours to pay for the drilling. So look, this slide's just interesting because Malcolm Drinkwater did a study on, you know, some of the old timers, what they pulled out. So these are staggering, and I'd be sort of happy to see anyone else can put better grades and tonnes out for this. But Paxton did 2 tonnes of quartz crush for 4,200 ounces, and Chrome did 436 tonnes for 24,000 ounces. That was on their 50 yard by 50 yard, well, 50 yard be only as long as this room, I suppose, 50 yard by 50 yard lease. So pretty impressive numbers. So look, we're green by just because we're unique and lucky. We don't use any cyanide, 100% gravity. It's a low capex, low opex, so there's not a lot of energy goes into this. As I said, minimum grind of 650, so very low energy. We run the plant on 500 kVA generator, and ultimately we'll turn that into solar power, but it's very low power usage. The waste is benign. There's no metals whatsoever, so we can dry stack, and we don't need any tail stem at all. We've had it tested. We can sell it to Boral as sand for cement. That's how clean it is. The water's so clean that we can reuse it and release it into the creeks. It's just pure water when it goes out, so very tidy that way. I love the fact it's 23 fine, so we get we've got this really nice pure gold to send to the refinery, and it doesn't take much to refine. As I said, because we're ore sorting, our tails is only 1/3 of what we mine, and that's a bonus in areas like this. We don't want a lot of tails. We want to put it back in the hole. So it's a very elegant solution to minimising tails. So we like that one. I'd just like to acknowledge Tully Richards, my colleague, director and geologist, Downs and Seacombe, previous hill end geologist, and I know there'll be some in the room. There always is whatever mine I talk about. There's always others that have been before us. So good on you guys. And the hill end community, we love our community, and they've been very helpful.